It was the night of August 21st, 2016, in Apobra do Caraminhal, a small coastal town in Galicia, Spain. The summer festival was alive with laughter, music, and the chatter of locals and visitors enjoying the warm evening. Streetlights reflected on the wet cobblestones from a light drizzle earlier in the day, giving the town a quiet glow amidst the celebration. Among the crowd was Diana Quer, 18 years old, tall, striking, and full of life. She had spent the summer with her mother and younger sister, Valeria, escaping the tension in Madrid, where her parents were separated. For Diana, this trip was a break, a chance to unwind before returning to her studies in the city. That night, she was out with friends, moving between small bars, enjoying live music, and laughing as the festival carried on. Witnesses later said she seemed relaxed and happy, though she occasionally glanced at her phone, sending a few messages. Around 2:30 a.m., Diana decided to head home alone. She sent one final message to a friend. "I'm on my way home." Those would be the last words anyone would ever receive from her. When her mother woke the next morning, Diana's bed was empty. Her phone and the clothes she had worn the night before were missing, though her wallet and identification were left behind. Fear quickly replaced hope, and by mid-morning, her parents contacted local authorities. Initially, police considered it a routine disappearance. Perhaps she had stayed over with friends or wandered off. But Diana's family insisted something was wrong. She was not the type to vanish without explanation, and the fact that her phone was missing suggested foul play. Investigators pieced together her last known movements. Witnesses reported seeing a young woman matching Diana's description, leaving the festival alone, walking through dimly lit streets toward her home. Security cameras provided blurry footage, but no clear answers. Her phone, however, pinged a cell tower several kilometers away at 2:43 a.m. Then, suddenly, the signal stopped. The discovery of the dead signal ignited a massive search. Volunteers scoured streets, forests, and the coastline, while police divers searched nearby waters. The media quickly picked up the story, and Diana's disappearance became a national headline. As the days passed, police expanded their search. Witnesses reported seeing a dark vehicle moving slowly through town around the time she vanished. Some claimed they heard muffled screams, though these were initially dismissed as part of the festival's late-night chaos. Investigators also uncovered unsettling messages Diana had received in the days leading up to her disappearance. While some were harmless, others carried a tone that hinted at being watched or followed. Despite the leads, the case made little progress. Weeks passed, and public attention began to fade, though Diana's family remained desperate for answers. Her younger sister Valeria struggled to cope, withdrawing from friends and retreating into silence, while her mother appeared on television, pleading for anyone with information to come forward. Then, in late September, a fisherman found Diana's phone floating in the harbor several miles away. The phone was water-damaged, but investigators confirmed it belonged to Diana. Its last recorded location suggested it had been discarded deliberately, reinforcing the theory of abduction. As the investigation continued, a small number of individuals with violent pasts came under scrutiny. Among them was a man with prior offenses against women, and police began watching his movements closely. But for now, there was no evidence to make an arrest, and Diana's disappearance remained a haunting mystery. Little did anyone know, this was only the beginning. Over a year later, a shocking discovery would finally bring the case into the public eye and reveal the horrifying truth behind what happened that August night. As the weeks turned into months, the investigation into Diana's disappearance deepened, but clear answers remained frustratingly out of reach. The small coastal town of Apobra do Caraminhal, once vibrant with summer celebrations, had become a place of fear and unease. Locals whispered about the darkened streets at night and the suspicious vehicles some had noticed that fateful evening. The search had stretched far beyond the town, encompassing neighboring villages, forests, and the coastal waters. Authorities worked tirelessly, following every lead, no matter how small. The discovery of Diana's phone in the harbor was a turning point. Although the device had been badly damaged by water, forensic specialists worked to recover every scrap of information. The phone's final location suggested it had been thrown deliberately, as if someone wanted to erase evidence of her movements. Analysts concluded that Diana had likely been forcibly taken, and with that, the theory of abduction became the focus. Investigators began to review a list of known offenders in the area. Among them was José Enrique Abuin Gay, later infamous under the name El Chicle. A man with a long history of violent behavior, sexual offenses, and a reputation for intimidation, he became a person of interest. At the time, authorities observed him quietly, trying to determine if he had any connection to Diana's disappearance. Witnesses reported seeing him in suspicious circumstances around the time Diana vanished, though there was not yet enough evidence to formally charge him. The case captured national attention, and the media kept the public constantly updated. Television reports, social media discussions, and newspaper headlines all contributed to mounting pressure on the police to solve the mystery. Diana's mother became a symbol of the desperate quest for answers, appearing in countless interviews, while her father kept a more subdued, watchful presence. The family's anguish was palpable, and the public sympathized deeply with their plight. Meanwhile, investigators explored other leads as well. Security camera footage was re-examined, witness testimonies were cross-referenced, and phone records were scrutinized. They discovered that Diana had received troubling messages in the days leading up to her disappearance, some from unknown numbers that carried a sense of threat. These details suggested that someone had been watching her, learning her routines, and possibly planning her abduction in advance. The local police expanded the search to include areas beyond Galicia. Reports of suspicious vehicles traveling along highways at night, unusual activity near rural properties, and men known for predatory behavior were all investigated. Tips poured in from across Spain, each one followed meticulously, though most proved to be dead ends. The pressure to find Diana alive, or at least discover her whereabouts, was immense. It wasn't until months later, in December 2017, that the investigation made a critical breakthrough. Investigators finally gathered enough evidence to link José Enrique Abuin Gay to Diana's disappearance. Using witness accounts, forensic analysis, and surveillance data, authorities concluded that he had been in the vicinity of Pobra do Caraminhal the night Diana disappeared. On December 2017, law enforcement moved in. Gay was taken into custody, and a series of searches were conducted at properties connected to him. What they found was shocking. Hidden in a remote area, evidence suggested that Diana had been held against her will, and the circumstances pointed to a violent struggle. Investigators pieced together the final movements of that fateful night, reconstructing the crime with painstaking detail. The revelation stunned the nation. Spain had been following Diana's case for over a year, and now there was finally a suspect. But even with Gay in custody, the family's anguish remained unresolved. Diana was still missing, and while police were confident they were close to the truth, the reality was harrowing. Her life had been cut short in a senseless act of violence. For Diana's mother, every day was a battle against despair. She continued to appeal to the public, urging anyone with information to come forward. Her sister Valeria, now older but still deeply scarred, struggled to find normalcy, haunted by memories of that August night. During the investigation, details about José Enrique Abuin Gay's past came to light, painting a chilling portrait of a man capable of extreme violence. He had a history of sexual crimes, prior convictions, and a pattern of predatory behavior. Authorities uncovered a timeline placing him near Diana's path on the night she disappeared, and forensic evidence began to corroborate witness statements. By the spring of 2018, the investigation was finally reaching a pivotal moment. Police had located key items and forensic traces linked to Gay, strengthening the case that Diana had been kidnapped and murdered. Every piece of recovered evidence told a story of a young woman's last moments, of the calculated actions of her abductor, and of the painstaking work by law enforcement to bring justice. Even with the mounting evidence, the case was emotionally complex. Public sentiment swung between hope that Diana might be found alive and the grim realization that she may have been taken from them forever. The investigation became a national narrative, sparking discussions about safety, violence against women, and the responsibilities of authorities to protect the vulnerable. Finally, after months of relentless work, investigators were able to reconstruct the chilling final night of Diana Quare. Through forensic mapping, witness accounts, and detailed analysis, they concluded that she had been abducted while walking home alone, her assailant striking quickly and decisively. The evidence pointed to her being held and eventually killed, with her body concealed in a location that was difficult to detect. The news devastated the nation. For Diana's family, it was a mixture of relief and heartbreak. Relief that the person responsible had been identified and captured. Heartbreak for the irreparable loss of a young life. Public outrage and grief swept across Spain as the trial began to take shape, and the story of Diana Quare became a cautionary tale, a tragic reminder of the dangers that can lurk even in seemingly peaceful towns. By early 2018, the investigation into Diana Quare's disappearance had produced results that finally gave her family some answers, though the reality was devastating. Evidence and witness testimonies had clearly pointed to José Enrique Abuin Gay, known as El Chicle, as the man responsible for abducting Diana that night in August 2016. His arrest brought a mixture of relief and dread to the Quare family. Relief that the perpetrator was in custody, but dread at the horrifying truths that would emerge. Authorities worked methodically to reconstruct the crime. Forensic teams examined remote areas connected to Gay, carefully collecting DNA, fibers, and other physical evidence. Through these efforts, it became clear that Diana had been killed shortly after being abducted, and her body had been concealed in a location difficult to access. The meticulous work of law enforcement ensured that the case against Gay would be strong, leaving little room for doubt in court. The trial itself captured the attention of all of Spain. The courtroom was packed during the opening sessions, with media coverage highlighting every detail. Diana's mother, speaking with a quiet dignity, described the pain of losing her daughter and the relentless struggle to find the truth. Valeria, though still grieving, attended to show support and to honor her sister's memory. During the proceedings, prosecutors presented a chilling account of the crime. They explained how Gay had monitored Diana, how he approached her, and how the abduction occurred. The evidence was detailed and methodical. Eyewitness testimonies, forensic traces, mobile phone data, and the man's own prior history of sexual offenses. It painted a picture of premeditation, showing that this was not a random act, but a violent, deliberate crime. Gay's defense attempted to argue diminished responsibility, pointing to alleged psychological issues and an unstable past. But The weight of evidence, combined with witness accounts and forensic proof, left little room for doubt. The jury, after careful deliberation, found him guilty on all counts related to Diana's abduction and murder. Sentencing brought a mixture of closure and sorrow. José Enrique Abuingay was sentenced to prison for life, ensuring he would never have the opportunity to harm another person. The ruling, while legally satisfying, could never erase the pain and loss suffered by Diana's family. Her mother described the sentence as bittersweet. Justice had been served, but Diana could never be returned to them. The aftermath of the case left lasting effects on the community as well. Public discussions intensified around issues of safety for young women, the importance of timely law enforcement action, and the need for awareness about predatory behavior. Schools, local authorities, and civic organizations launched programs aimed at prevention and education, ensuring that Diana's story would serve as a lesson to others. For Diana's family, healing has been a slow and painful process. Her mother continues to honor Diana's memory by advocating for victims of violence, raising awareness about abduction and murder, and maintaining the story of her daughter in public consciousness. Valeria, though scarred by the loss, has worked to reclaim pieces of normal life, channeling her grief into supporting campaigns against gender-based violence. The town of Apobra do Caraminhal also bears the memory of Diana. Locals remember the lively young woman who brought warmth and energy to the streets during that summer festival. Her story has left a permanent mark, reminding everyone that even in peaceful communities, tragedy can strike unexpectedly. Though the case concluded with a conviction, the emotional impact of Diana Quer's disappearance continues. Families across Spain, and even beyond, reflect on the fragility of life and the importance of vigilance and care. Diana's life, cut tragically short, is remembered not only for the crime committed against her, but for the vibrant, hopeful young woman she was, full of dreams, laughter, and a spirit that touched everyone who knew her. In the end, justice was served, but the wound left by her absence remains. Diana Quer's story stands as a poignant reminder of the human cost of violence, the tireless efforts of law enforcement, and the enduring strength of a family that refused to give up on finding the truth. Her memory continues to inspire vigilance, compassion, and the resolve to protect the most vulnerable, ensuring that while her life was tragically taken, her legacy endures.